When you hear the word mythology, you probably picture marble columns, ancient gods like Zeus and Poseidon, stories that feel old and possibly irrelevant in today's society. But that is not the case. Myths can be modern and instead take form in stories like Star Wars or Lord of the Rings. We never stop creating myths, we just stop calling them that. My name is Sophie Andrews, and this is my talk on how myth-making never dies. Long before cinemas and streaming platforms, people told myths. Myths weren't just stories people told because they were bored or because they hadn't discovered a scientific explanation yet. Many ancient civilizations had myths, including Norse, Egyptian, and Roman mythology. But today, I'll be focusing on my favorites, the ancient Greek myths. However, myths weren't just entertainment. They explain the unexplainable. And the Greeks used them to explain everything from the origins of the constellations to the olive tree. But more than that, myths showed the human experience. Ancient Greece was a polytheistic religion, meaning they worshipped multiple deities, which each explained things people couldn't control. For example, Zeus explained lightning, Poseidon, earthquakes, and gods like Thanatos and Hades explained death. But more than that, myths and heroes taught people how to live. They warned against excessive pride, called hubris, and showed the often deadly consequences of bad choices, like when the hero Bellerophon attempted to fly Pegasus to Mount Olympus, resulting in his death. Why do we crave power? Can someone be redeemed after making terrible choices? These are mythological questions, but they're also modern ones. Now, let's talk about heroes. In ancient mythology, you have many heroes, but I want to focus on Odysseus, the hero who was away from home for 20 years, 10 years of fighting in the Trojan War, and 10 years of fighting to return home to Ithaca. Odysseus is clever, brave, and determined, but he's also flawed. His pride gets him into trouble. He faces monsters, temptation, and moments of doubt. But not every hero has to be from ancient mythology. Now think about Frodo Baggins. He isn't powerful. He isn't chosen because he's the strongest. He's chosen because he is willing. And the ring he carries slowly wears him down, tempting him and changing him. And then there's Luke Skywalker. He wants adventure. He wants to be important. But along the way, he has to confront fear, anger, and the possibility that he could become the very thing he is fighting to destroy. J.R.R. Tolkien didn't just write fantasy. He created an entire mythology, complete with its own languages, songs, legendary heroes, and fallen villains. Middle-earth functions much in the same way as Greek mythology did. Creation stories, legendary heroes, and of course, villains. And George Lucas openly drew inspiration from mythological storytelling for Star Wars. The Jedi are a mythic order. Darth Vader isn't just a villain, he's a tragic figure, much like the fallen heroes of ancient stories. He acts as a warning to what happens when power goes unchecked. These worlds feel epic because they're built on ancient foundations. We recognize them instinctively because we've heard the story before. But here's the real question. Why do we still need myths today? Today, we live in a society of technology, science, and information at the click of a button. It's easy to forget myths or think that they are now unnecessary. We don't need Zeus to explain lightning. We can explain the stars without constellations telling stories. So why are we still obsessed with epic sagas? Because myths were never really about science. Myths give us identity. They help us understand who we are. When we debate whether Boromir was weak or noble, we're debating human failure. When we argue about whether Anakin deserved redemption, we're arguing about forgiveness, not just fiction. And when we watch Frodo struggle under the weight of the ring, we realize how responsibility and pressure are overwhelming. We're debating forgiveness, responsibility, whether one bad choice reflects on a person forever. Myths give us distance. They let us explore hard truths and real-world issues without the real-life consequences. They give us the language for questions we don't always know how to ask directly. And I think, for my generation, it's especially important. We're growing up in a world that feels uncertain. There's pressure to choose a future, pressure to succeed, and pressure to define ourselves. And sometimes the weight of that responsibility can feel heavy. But then we look at stories. We see a hobbit carrying something too powerful for him. We see a farmer boy living up to something greater. We see ancient heroes struggling with pride and fear. And we realize The humans have always felt this way. We aren't just consuming myths, we're creating them. So one day, when people look back at our time, they won't just study our technology or our politics, they will study our stories. So, when people usually hear the word myth, they think it means something false. However, myths aren't lies, they're mirrors, reflecting our flaws, our hopes, our civilization, who we were and who we are, and who we're trying to become. Myths all tell us the same truth, the fears, hopes, and struggles of every generation, and how those generations turn them into stories. Myth-making never died, it just found new worlds, new heroes, and new voices. And maybe the next great myth won't begin on Mount Olympus, or in Middle-earth, or in a galaxy far, far away. Maybe it will begin with us. Thank you.